A very good afternoon to one and all. Welcome to all of you in the 5-day faculty development program on personal and professional management. Hello.
Yes, Pritika ma'am, you're audible. Yes, you are very much audible. Please continue.
Okay, sir. In this 5 days program, there are number of speakers will be speaking on different topics. The timing of the program is 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. That is of 1 hour. And the schedule of FDP is Shubhrata sir, I'm unable to share the slide, sir, of the FDP poster, sir.
Okay.
Can you share it, sir?
Yes. Just a second.
Schedule of FDP is on the day 1, that is today itself. Dr. Urvashi Thakur, HOD of Department of Management, Arka Jain University, is going to conduct day 2, that is tomorrow. Mr. Abhishek Upadhyay, Assistant Professor, Department of Management, Arka Jain University, is going to conduct his topic. Day 3, that is on 13 June, Mr. Saurabh, Dr. Subrato Kumar De is going to conduct his topic, who is an associate professor of Department of Management, Arka Jain University, and a member of RFI also, Research Foundation of India. On day 5, Mr. Yogesh Prajapati is going to conduct his topic. On day 4, Dr. Sonali Mishra, Associate Professor of Center for Skill Development, Asian Education Group, Noida. She is going to conduct his topic. And Arka Jain University and Research Foundation of India is organizing this event. About Research Foundation of India, Research Foundation of India is strictly working for social upliftment and higher education quality and Indian research promotions in the form of events like national, international conferences, seminars, workshops, symposiums, and other activities. The Research Foundation of India is working for research and development for higher education. It has also signed many MOUs with top universities from India. Research Foundation of India has organized 1,000 plus international conferences and workshops. I'm going to welcome for Central India function. The members are Dr. Saurabh Jain, the Chairman and CEO, Professor Ashok Kumar Gupta, Chief Managing Director, Dr. Ajay Jain, National Coordinator and President of RFI, Dr. Reshu Jain, President, Dr. Priyadarshini Agunotri, North-South Board President, Dr. Rajat Sharma, National Conveyor, Dr. Manish Dubey, President of Central India Board, Shri Amit Chand, North Board India President, Dr. Devadat Indoria, North Board India President, Professor Abhinesh Karosia, West Board India President, Dr. Sanjay Prasad, MP, State President, Dr. Parul Charada, MP, State Conveyor, Dr. Indra Dixit, MP, State Coordinator. For inaugural and valedictory session, I would like to welcome Dr. Sangeeta Bharuka, Vice President of Central India Board, Dr. Subrato Day, Joint Secretary of Central India Board, Dr. Prasekshini Tiwari, President World Virtual Conference Forum, Dr. Priyanka Chawla, Vice President of World Virtual Conference Forum, Dr. Seema Agrawal, Joint Secretary of R&I, MP State, Dr. Ankita Jain, Indore Zone Coordinator, Research and Innovation, Dr. Gunjan Shukla, Indore Zone Coordinator, Student Wing, Dr. Kuldeep Agnihotri, Indore Zone President, Dr. Piyush Soni, President Bhopal Zone, Professor Shakshi Bharadwaj, Bhopal Chapter President, Research and Innovation Wing, Dr. Vishal Purohit, Chapter Head of Ujjain, Mr. Divya Agrawal, President of Gwalior Zone, Research and Innovation Wing.
Right. I request, Preeti Madam, I request from Research Foundation of India, can you please start the intro, and may I request Dr. Urvashi
Yes, sir.
ma'am to share the slide, and let's start the intro and the presentation. Okay. May I request Dr. Urvashi madam to please share the slide, the first slide, and later on, after the intro, let's proceed.
Okay, Urvashi ma'am, please share the slide.
Yeah, Preeti, just 1 second.
Yes,
Give me a minute, please.
yes, ma'am, yes. So, I would also like to say a few lines about Arka Jain University also. That it is a university accredited with by NAC in first cycle. The first and only state, sir, private university in Bihar and Jharkhand and West Bengal to achieve this feat, combining academic excellence, opportunity, and real-world experience. Now, Urvashi ma'am, please share the slide.
See the slide.
Dr. Urvashi Thakur has been hello, ma'am.
Yes,
Ma'am,
Preeti,
please
go ahead.
continue. Continue, ma'am, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Preeti, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Urvashi Thakur has been in the hiring and training industry for last 15 years. She also holds a PhD in the area of information quality and its relevance in the job choice decision of MBA students. Her main area of interest is work dynamic in academic and learning of students through corporate internships. She perceives herself more of as a mentor rather than a faculty member. She has been engaged in teaching human resource management and organizational behavior of Department of MBA program. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. Please continue.
MBA program at Arka Jain University, Jamshedpur, which is a NAC A accredited university. Now, ma'am, it's over to you. Please start your slides and your points, ma'am, and the topic. Now we are going to welcome Urvashi, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Preeti, for the introduction and for conducting the post-degree program.
Thank you, ma'am.
And good afternoon to all the participants. Just give me a second, please. I'm trying to share the screen, but there seems to be some issue. I'm really sorry for the inconvenience. This
Yes, ma'am, the slides are visible now.
can you hear me? Am I audible?
Ma'am, you're
Yes,
audible, ma'am.
you are audible, ma'am.
Okay. So the as we all know, the topic for today is stress and burnout. So we'll begin with understanding the concept of stress, what it is, and how should we recognize when we are under stress. Stress is, I personally feel that it is a very hyped terminology. And whenever you talk to people around you and you state a problem and people say, oh, you are very stressed. But it is very important to understand that what are we talking about when we mention the term stress. It's basically, if we look at the physiology, it is the strain that is put on our brain, or it is put on our body. And when our body is you know under a prolonged, uh, I would say, when it is under a prolonged stress or pressure, there is mental fatigue, and which is manifested through different symptoms. So this becomes stress. This is what is called stress. Now, a brain is designed to work in two ways, either flight or fight. Like, we have been talking about flight and fight situations when we come across something like, if we are looking at prehistorical ages, when we are looking at uh, you know uh, people when they were hunters and gatherers, right? So if they were faced with, say, a gigantic animal, and they had to understand how, so the brain would react in terms of running away from the situation or fighting it out. But now that gigantic animal or predator has been is not there in the scene, but there is something which is called, every day that we come across situations like we would be facing like long traffic queues, we would be facing an unrelenting boss, or we are working along with a colleague who does not understand. So we do not, at times, we do not have these options of flight or fight. Either of them is not available to us. So it puts a lot of pressure on our mind, and we are always devising uh, a strategy how to work out. So this extra pressure which is put on our mind, it relates to the term that we are talking about, we are going to discuss today, which is all right. So again, either we have the capacity to deliver, or we do not have the capability to. So it could be both ways. Either we we consider ourselves too capable of delivering or we are incapable of delivering. Now, both are our perceptions about self. But when we are talking, and both these situations can put stress on our mind. So when we talk about our body capabilities, our physical capabilities. So as I've mentioned that if you are capable of walking for 30 minutes, but if I force you to walk for a 30 minutes walk, what will happen is that physically we are going to feel the pressure, strain, stress. And now if this happens day after day, so there are going to be two outcomes. Either our body will get attuned to this, and we would understand and create strategies how we will help our body to move, you know, and walk for 60 minutes every day, or we would find excuses for not going on a. And both of these situations would create a stress on our mind. Coming to what types of stress we come across. So the first one is physical. When there is a capability or capacity that our limbs are capable of, but then we are putting a stress, putting a pressure on ourselves to improve the functioning or to extract more from our limbs. So this would be a physical stress. All right. Now this is the stress that we feel when we start a workout, we start a routine, we start a new work. Like mentioned earlier, that if you start walking, you like walking for 30 minutes, but now it becomes a compulsion and you have to walk for 60 minutes every day. Now, when we are doing things which are of our interest, our liking, it is never a botheration, it is never a pressure on us. But when we are forced to do something, because there is an external pressure being put on us to perform and to be capable of, this creates a stressful condition. Now so this is a stress that is endured by a body. Now when we look at psychological stress, what is psychological stress? Psychological stress is when the person is trying to fit into a particular environment. All right. And he understands that either he could be or she could be a misfit in the environment. When the person is trying or struggling to fit in and is probably unable, either the person finds himself or herself exceeding in terms of the coping resources or under resourced. Right? So sometimes you will come across a situation when you are overqualified for a work. That is also stressful for us. That an assignment is given to us, which really somebody else who's a school student can also. So you don't realize what is the benefit that you're deriving out of doing a particular activity, and therefore your interest goes down. So this can also create boredom and stress. Right? Whereas if we are failing to have that resource, and we are unable to do a particular activity, right? Or what happens is there is a particular expectancy from the environment, right? And we have to fit into a category. That is when the problem starts arising. And so I've given an example when the ramp models are wanting to remain zero, it puts a lot of pressure on their mind with how to remain in that, how to maintain that whatever is expected out of them. Then we have psychosocial stress or stressors. Psychosocial stress or stressors is like when you're portraying a role, when you are into a role. So what do people or what do the population in which you're working? अगर हम एक स्कूल टीचर है, अगर हम एक कॉलेज के यूनिवर्सिटी के टीचर, तो हमसे एक्सपेक्ट किया जाता है कि हमको सब कुछ पता हो. हमारे स्टूडेंट्स किसी भी दिन कभी भी उठ के कुछ भी पूछते हैं और सोचते हैं कि आपके पास जवाब होगा. Right. So this puts a lot of stress on us because हमें चलते फिरते एनसाइक्लोपीडिया या डिक्शनरी नहीं बन सकते हैं. Right. कुछ एरियाज ऐसे हमेशा होते हैं जिसमें हमें नॉलेज कम होती है. Right. We might not have answers to all the questions that our students put up to us, but then that is a stress. So this condition, the role, can itself create a lot of pressure. When we come to something which is psycho-spiritual, now this is a very interesting area. शायद आप जितने लोग यहाँ पे आज प्रेजेंट है उसमें से कुछ जो है उन्होंने ऐसा कुछ एक्सपीरियंस किया हो, या कुछ लोग जो बहुत यंग होते हैं, दे हैव टू मेनी इंटरेस्ट, दे आर एक्सप्लोरिंग लाइफ, but it depends on people how they are oriented, right? जो बहुत ज़्यादा स्पिरिचुअलिटी में बिलीव करते हैं एंड दे बिलीव इन सेल्फ एक्चुअलाइजेशन जो चीज़ है उसमें बिलीव करते हैं, तो उनके एक्सपीरियंसेस थोड़े विद एज विद एक्सपीरियंस चेंज होने लगते हैं, राइट? यू माइट एक्सपीरियंस समथिंग वेयर यू रियलाइज दैट दी द बेसिक एक्सपेक्टेंसीज दैट वी हैव फ्रॉम, जो हमारी बेसिक एक्सपेक्टेंसी है रोटी कपड़ा मकान की, वो खत्म हो जाती है या वो थोड़ी उसकी इम्पोर्टेंस कम हो जाती है हमारे लिए। वी आर वांटिंग टू अचीव समथिंग मोर देन दैट। ये जो एक क्वेश्चन होता है कि हम किस लिए बने हैं या हम क्यों आए हैं दुनिया में, इस तरीके का कुछ टाइप ऑफ स्पिरिचुअल स्ट्रेस जो है, वी ऑल अंडरगो थ्रू दैट। हमारे पास हमारे साथ कुछ ऐसे एक्सपीरियंसेस हुए होते हैं जब हम कुछ डिवाइन एक्सपीरियंस या हमको लगता है कि ये सिर्फ जो हमारी फिजिकल नीड है या इस तरह की कुछ नीड है विच इज मोर ऑफ फाइनेंशियल इन नेचर, उससे बढ़कर जिंदगी में कुछ होना चाहिए, तो उस तरीके की जो स्ट्रेस हमारे लाइफ में होने लगती है आफ्टर सर्टन एक्सपीरियंसेस, उसको हम साइको स्पिरिचुअल स्ट्रेस कहते हैं। Continuing with psychological stress and stressors, one of the major stress, uh, where all the stress comes from in our work life is, can be clubbed under organizational. हम जहाँ पे काम करते हैं, जब हमारी जिस इंडस्ट्री में हम हैं, उसके जो रोल्स हैं, क्या हम उन रोल को समझ पाते हैं, क्या हम उस रोल को निभा पाते हैं, तो हाउ मच आर वी केपेबल ऑफ डूइंग दैट। हमारे अगेन कमिंग टू कि हमें क्या लगता है कि हमें कम है या हमें क्या लगता है कि हम कितना ज्यादा फिट करते हैं इस रोल में, राइट? सो लेट्स लुक एट दैट। तो जहाँ पे भी आप काम करते हैं, इधर आप एकेडमिक्स में हैं, आप पढ़ा रहे हैं, या आप एक रिसर्च स्कॉलर हैं, right? There are a lot of things happening, and at this point in time, there are many roles that we are playing at the same time. हम जॉब भी कर रहे होते हैं, हम अपने फैमिली मेंबर्स की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी देख रहे होते हैं, स्कॉलर्स हैं उनको रिसर्च भी करना है, उनको अगर जो टीचिंग में है और उनको रिसर्च भी करना है, तो देर आर टू मेनी रोल्स दैट यू यू आर अ स्टूडेंट, यू आर अ टीचर, यू आर अ फैमिली पर्सन, एंड सो हमारी हर रोल के साथ एक डिफरेंट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आती है। तो इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस टू अंडरस्टैंड कि एक पर्टिकुलर रोल में क्या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज, क्या ड्यूटीज हैं, राइट? व्हाट इज द आउटकम जो हम क्या अचीव करना चाहते हैं इस रोल के थ्रू, ये समझना बहुत जरूरी है। और ये भी जानना बहुत जरूरी है कि इस रोल में हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज कितनी है, दायरा क्या है, व्हाट इज द प्रेमाइस व्हाइल यू आर वर्किंग। अगर मैं ये देखूं कि एज एन एकेडमिक, in academics and as a teacher's role. So with the passage of time, the teacher's role has gone extremely, under extreme change. अब सिर्फ ऐसा नहीं कि हमको सिर्फ पढ़ाना है और पढ़ा के मेरा एक सेशन खत्म हुआ तो मेरा रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी या रोल खत्म हो जाता है। वी आर नाउ नो मोर ओनली टीचर्स, वी आर फैसिलिटेटर्स, वी आर मेंटर्स, राइट? मेंटरिंग की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो मेंटर का रोल हमेशा से रहा है टीचर का, but it was not so vocal, it was not so methodical, it was not so much documented, right? It was not so calibrated. पहले ऐसा होता था कि हम एक टीचर को देखते थे और उसके उसकी पर्सनालिटी कैसी है वैसा बनना चाहते थे, बट इट वाज ऑल सो सटल। But now what happens is that you have to interact with the student. You have to find out what are the academic problems the student is going through. Right? You have to guide them, and you have to find out for them what is good for them, and allow them, nurture them, and allow them to reach their goals. Right? So it can be very frustrating at times. It can also again create, uh, situations where people lose sight of what is the boundary, and then there could be problems, and then it leads to a lot of. At the same time, if you are looking at academics in um, private universities and colleges, the environment has become very complex. आप सिर्फ एक टीचर नहीं हैं, आप कंटेंट क्रिएटर भी हैं, आप कम्युनिकेटर भी हैं, एट द सेम टाइम यू आर researcher as well. So what happens is that there is too much of work around. There is too much of work, and then again the problem that we face is um, the problem we face is there is a lot of role ambiguity. There is a lot of role conflict that a person undergoes. So it is very important for the person to understand कि उसके साथ हो क्या रहा है. Now I'll take you to a model which is a very old model, and it will help us to understand कि एक जॉब में स्ट्रेस आता कैसे. This is one aspect of job stress that I would like you to look at. Many of you must have come across, and ये तरह से का मॉडल है which says that हर एक जॉब में उसकी अपनी डिमांड होती है और एक ऐसी स्पेस होती है जिसमें आप जो आपको मिलती है जहाँ पे आप डिसीजन लेते हैं. अगर आप देखिए इस मॉडल को कि अगर आपकी डिमांड जो है वो लो है और आपकी अगर डिसीजन मेकिंग कैपेबिलिटी भी उसमें बहुत कम है, बहुत कम स्कोप है कि आप कुछ डिसाइड कर. तो व्हाट हैपेंस इज कि दिस बिकम्स अ वेरी पैसिव जॉब. इसमें बोर्डन होने स्ट्रेस ये है कि आपको पता नहीं है कि आपके अंदर पोटेंशियल क्या है. ये जॉब आपसे आपका पोटेंशियल नहीं एक्सप्लोर करवा सकती, एक्सप्लॉइट नहीं करा, ना ही आप इसमें कोई डिसीजन ले. Again, compared to this is a job where demand is also high and the person also has the latitude to take a lot of job decisions. So what happens is this is the complete opposite of passive job. It allows you to take decisions. You have control over the job that you're doing. This becomes an active. Now what happens is यहाँ पे stress to perform बहुत ज्यादा हो क्योंकि आप ही डिसीजन मेकर हैं और जॉब की डिमांड्स भी हाई है. तो the stress of performing high performance बहुत ज्यादा होता है. Compared to this, if we look at a situation where the job has high demand, there is a high target set for it, but then there is a very low latitude of decision, very less scope of decision. आपसे एक्सपेक्टेशन बहुत ज्यादा है, आपके आसपास के लोगों की, आपके बॉस की एक्सपेक्टेशन बहुत ज्यादा है. But if you want to change things to achieve the demands of the job, you cannot because you do not have the power or you do not have the power to take decisions. You cannot change things as what you want. तो यहाँ पे strain बहुत ज्यादा आ जाता है, stress बहुत ज्यादा आता है. तो यहाँ पे डिमांड ज्यादा है, डिसीजन आपके हाथ में नहीं है, आप बहुत कुछ करना चाहते हैं आप कर नहीं पाते हैं. It's always about you do not know how the other person is going to react or how the situation is going to unfold, and therefore there is a lot of compared to just opposite to this is low strain job जहाँ पे डिमांड बहुत कम है, आपके पास लैटिट्यूड बहुत है डिसीजन लेने का, पर ऑब्जेक्टिव या गोल्स बहुत छोटे हैं. तो then you then the person feels underutilized होने का भी बहुत ज्यादा स्ट्रेस होता है लोगों को. So this is one model which can be used by people to understand stress and how stress happens. Now stress जब बहुत ज्यादा लंबे ड्यूरेशन के लिए आपके ऊपर काम करता है, अगर एक बॉडी या एक माइंड is under stress for a pretty long time, then what happens is it leads to burnout. अगर साल दर साल आप एक बहुत स्ट्रेसफुल काम कर which is putting a lot of pressure on emotional, physical and mental exhaustion. So this is called a state of burnout when the person is physically and emotionally drained. The job is so much bigger, the demand on the person is so much bigger, and the resource that the person has is so minuscule. इतना कम है रिसोर्स उसके पास कि वो उस मीट नहीं कर पा रहा है. And then what happens is the stress keeps on growing, the stress keeps on growing. एंड हम लेटेस्ट स्टेज पे देखेंगे कि हमारा ब्रेन कैसे इफेक्ट होता है और हमारी कैपेबिलिटीज कैसे कम होते चले जाते हैं, एंड हाउ इट एक्चुअली the stress inhibits each and every organ in our body, and how we become prey to stress, and this leads to burnout. Burnout is basically It burns away your ambition, it burns away the potential to perform, it burns away your interest, it burns away your motivation, it burns away your physical capabilities, and that is why the term that you are burnt out. There is nothing left in the person to carry. So if you look at this graph, a very interesting graph, very much related to the model that we were looking at. कि अगर परफॉर्मेंस लो है, प्रेशर भी लो है, तो यहाँ पे बोर्डम सेट इन होता है. तो वी हैव एवरीडे लाइफ ऑल्सो आपने देखा होगा कि अगर आप पूरे दिन कुछ मत करिए, अभी आप अगर बहुत काम कर रहे हैं तो आपको लगता है कि ऐसी एक सिचुएशन होनी चाहिए जब मुझसे कोई कुछ काम करने के लिए ना और मैं सिर्फ आराम. But then you will realize that day 1, day 2, day 3, and day 4, you will be so tired of not performing, not working. There is no demand on you. Right? तो ये होता क्या है, ये तीसरे चौथे दिन जो है ये बोर्डम सेट इन हो जाता है. यू रियली डोंट वांट टू बी इन दैट. यू वांट टू मूव आउट, यू वांट टू परफॉर्म, यू वांट टू शो दैट देयर इज अ पोटेंशियल. सो एक स्टेज होती है जब हमारे परफॉर्मेंस भी मैच करता है जो हमारे ऊपर प्रेशर होता है. सो दैट इज द ideal zone, I would say, when the performance is at peak. Optimal performance है, जितना आपसे मांगा जा रहा है आप उतना दे रहे हैं, उससे ज्यादा दे रहे हैं. बट जैसे जैसे ये डिमांड बढ़ते जाएगी और आपकी रिसोर्स अगर आप री एनर्जाइज नहीं कर रहे हैं, आपके इंटरनल रिसोर्सेज लिमिटेड है, कैपेबिलिटीज हमारी लिमिटेड होती है, right? अगर हम इसको नहीं रिफ्रेश करते हैं तो हमको लगता है कि वी एंटर अ जोन ऑफ डिल्यूजन, विच मीन्स कि हम जितना परफॉर्म करेंगे, जितना हाई परफॉर्म करेंगे, हम उतना हम जितना ज्यादा वर्क करेंगे, जितना ज्यादा हम हमारा इनपुट होगा, उतना ज्यादा हमारा परफॉर्मेंस इम्प्रूव है. बट ऐसा होता नहीं. व्हाट एक्चुअली इज हैपनिंग इज कि हमारे लिमिटेड रिसोर्सेज को हम ओवर यूटिलाइज करते हैं और तब हमारे पास प्रॉब्लम आती है डिमिनिशिंग रिटर्न. हमारे रिटर्न्स बढ़ती नहीं है, कम होते चले जाते हैं, राइट. एंड देन फाइनली वी आर कंप्लीटली बर्न. What are the different stages of burn? I'm sure if we look at it, we the people who have not experienced any of these are very very people who are very healthy mentally and they have a very sound job situation which has accurate uh, demand and decision making, unka latitude acha hai, and therefore you have not come across any. But I'm really doubtful because some of these situation stages we might have experienced. Though it is a very slow process, burnout is a very slow process, but it is very difficult to understand कि आप कब आप stress है ज़्यादा. Unless and until the stress is very much visible, very obvious, it is sometimes very difficult to understand that we are undergoing stressful situation. It also depends on the kind of people we are. If we are very expressive, if we are extroverts, if we are introverts, it completely depends on what kind of people we are, what kind of individual we are, and how we handle it. Sometimes what happens is that um, we have a problem, but we do not even want to accept that problem. Right? And we need to prove ourselves is so strong that we would not even look at the problems as problems. Uh, एक एक कुछ टर्मिनोलॉजीज होती हैं जो बहुत ज्यादा रिपीटेडली यूज होती हैं कि ऐसा तो होता ही है, ऐसा होता ही है, वर्क कल्चर ऐसे ही होता है कंपनी का. आपको एक जिसे कहेंगे कि साइकोपैथ बॉस या बहुत ही ज्यादा स्ट्रिक्ट बॉस या इस तरीके का जो हमारा रिपोर्टिंग ऑफिसर है जो कि who is not emotionally mature, who does not have a very high emotional quotient, doesn't understand his team member. तो हमें लगता है कि सब बॉस ऐसे ही होते हैं, पर ऐसा नहीं. वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि हमारी लिमिटेशंस कहाँ है, वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड हमारी कैपेबिलिटीज क्या है. And therefore you might people do undergo these stages of burnout and so इसकी शुरुआत बहुत इसकी शुरुआत बहुत पहले हो चुकी होती है, और इट्स जस्ट दैट वी डू नॉट realize, we do not understand, and therefore it is very important for every individual present with me here to understand कि हमारा ब्रेन कैसे फंक्शन, हमारे ब्रेन में ये जो ये स्ट्रेस का कॉन्सेप्ट है, और जो हमने फ्लाइट और फाइट की बात की, ये कहाँ से आती है। और जैसे मैंने शुरू में बोला था कि दीज फाइट और फ्लाइट, ये जो हमारे पास ऑप्शंस होते हैं, ये इनग्रेन्ड है हमारे दिमाग, राइट फ्रॉम द बिगनिंग। So, what are the brain parts which participate in the process of stress and the coping mechanism? Right? तो हमारे ब्रेन में थोड़ा सा बायोलॉजी है. I would request you to appreciate this aspect and understand, so that you are in a better position to understand that when stress, is beginning to show in you or in your colleague or in a family member, and you could be of influence. तो हाइपोथैलेमस एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट होता है हमारे ब्रेन का, which is responsible for releasing hormones in our body, which basically regulates our mood, hunger, thirst, and it is very situational. आपको कभी लगा होगा कि आप जब स्ट्रेस में होते हो तो आप ज़्यादा खाने लगते हैं, कुछ लोग ज़्यादा खाने लगते हैं, right? कुछ लोग खाना छोड़ देते हैं. So these are different body reactions that happen under stress. So this is regulated by a body part which is called hypothalamus. I hope one can. And then we have a part of the brain which is called hippocampus. Now this is a very interesting part of our brain because this records the experiences that we have. Right now, you will be surprised to know that our brain takes 14 seconds, you know, before you feel you have taken a decision, the brain has already decided 14 seconds prior to when it actually strikes you that this is the decision you want to take, right? So the brain has already decided. And how does the brain decide? If you look at, imagine a computer which, अगर जिसको आप एक problem देते हो, so it checks all the solutions it has used in the past and it matches कि आपका question जो है वो किस experience से match करता है, right? And then it provides you the answer. तो अगर आपके पास एक स्ट्रेसफुल सिचुएशन रहा है, और मान लीजिए आपको किसी ने परेशान किया है, या एक वर्क कंडीशन है विच इज नॉट वेरी फ्रेंडली और feasible to you and you have reacted in a particular way, वो जब जब रिपीट होगा आपका एक ही टाइप का रिस्पॉन्स होगा, unless and until you try and train your brain. And then a very important part in our brain is amygdala. Amygdala is the part of the brain which is responsible for all our emotional responses. हम गुस्सा होते हैं, हम खुश होते हैं, हम डरते हैं, या हमको एंजाइटी होती है, ये सारी चीजें जो है ये एमिगडाला नाम के जो पार्ट है ब्रेन का, ये रिस्पॉन्सिबल है. So continuing with the symptoms of burnout, and now we also know that how our brain, which part of the brain is responsible. What happens is ये symptoms, जैसे मैंने पहले भी कहा कि they are very subtle and they gradually progress. पहले stress होगा and then we think that this is how it happens, and you kind of adapt. But जो ये adaptation process है, इसके चलते हमारी body में changes आते हैं. You're forcing your brain to work in a particular fashion, which it is not designed for. And then what happens is that our body changes start to take, right? And then it affects us mentally and physically. So हमारी जो energy है, energy and well-being, physical energy and well-being, ये impact हो जाती है in the long. What is the continued stress or burnout that we are talking about? Is chronic stress and चेंजेस इन कैपेबिलिटीज जो होती है, जो मैंने कहा कि अगर प्रोलॉन्ग स्ट्रेस है और बर्नआउट होता है तो हमारी बॉडी में क्या क्या चेंजेस होते हैं. The first changes is that our we tend to we become very we tend to forget things. We don't really remember. तो ये क्यों होता है? आप बोलते हो प्रेशर इतना ज्यादा है, हम इतना काम कर रहे हैं ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम दैट वी माइट नॉट नो, वी टेंड टू फॉरगेट. बट ये होता है इसलिए कि ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम हमारा जो हमारे न्यूरॉन्स हैं, जो हमारे इलेक्ट्रिकल रिस्पॉन्सेज जो हमारे बॉडी में कन्वे होते हैं, हमारा प्रोडक्शन ऑफ एस्ट्रोजन रिड्यूस हो जाता है और ये साइनेप्सिस जो है ये कम फॉर्म होते हैं. ये जो हमारे न्यूरॉन्स होते हैं इनकी लेंथ कम हो जाती है और अमाइनो एसिड्स जो होते हैं ये हमारे लिवर जो है वो प्रोटीन को ब्रेक डाउन करता है और तब आते हैं हमारी बॉडी में. ये भी एक बहुत क्रिटिकल रोल प्ले करते हैं इन द सेम प्रोसेस ऑफ रिमेम्बरिंग एंड परफॉर्मिंग एक्टिविटी और इन सब चीज़ों को इफेक्ट करते समय. कॉर्टिसोल एक हार्मोन है जो हमारी बॉडी है वो रिलीज करती है टू टू प्रोटेक्ट इट. एंड डोपामाइन के बारे में आपने सुना होगा कि ये सारे जो हार्मोन्स हैं डोपामाइन, ये आपको फील गुड, इट इज अ हार्मोन व्हिच मेक्स यू allows you to be in a state of mind which is a happy state of mind. So but then this is not a natural response. तो होता क्या है कि जब ये ओवर अ लॉन्ग पीरियड ऑफ टाइम अगर ब्रेन ऐसे फंक्शन करता चला जाता है तो देयर आर सर्टेन चेंजेस दैट हैपन इन द ब्रेन. दिस इज लाइक आपकी मेमोरी इम्पैक्ट हो जाती है, आपका कम्युनिकेशन स्किल इम्पैक्ट हो जाता है, आपके बॉडी मूवमेंट्स इम्पैक्ट हो जाते हैं. जो फिजिकल सिम्टम्स हैं स्ट्रेस के, अर्ली साइंस ऑफ स्ट्रेस जो है उसके फिजिकल सिम्टम्स से हम थकने लगते हैं. हमें बिकॉज हमारे we don't realize that because we are not made, our bodies are not made to sit on a chair for 8 hours. Our bodies are not we have not trained our bodies to stand for 3 hours, back to back 3 hours. अगर आपकी क्लासेस हैं या आपको रिसर्च वर्क करना है या आपका काम ही ऐसा है कि आपको कॉन्स्टेंटली खड़े ही रहना है, so it creates a lot of stress on our body. So this is physical stress. ये जो मस्कुलर टेंशन है, अगर आप एक पोज मेंटेन करते हो, आप एक पर्टिकुलर बॉडी पॉस्चर है जिसमें आप रहते हैं, ये होता है. फिर उसके बाद ये जो हार्मोन्स की बात की थी हमने, दीज रिजल्ट इन हार्ट पैल्पिटेशन. इतना स्ट्रेस है कि आपकी बॉडी जो है वो डोपामाइन क्रिएट ही नहीं कर पा रही है, तो आप सेंस ऑफ ईज नहीं है आपको, तो आपको नींद नहीं आएगी, राइट. आपको धीरे धीरे कुछ दिन नींद नहीं आएगी और फिर उसके बाद ये इंसोम्निया में कन्वर्ट हो जाता है. बिकॉज अगर हम स्ट्रेस रिड्यूस भी करते हैं तो बिकॉज द बॉडी एंड द माइंड आर नाउ नॉट यूज्ड टू स्लीपिंग फॉर 7 hours, यू विल नॉट स्लीप फॉर पीसफुली फॉर 7 hours, राइट. बहुत सारे लोगों को गैस्ट्रोइंटेस्टाइनल प्रॉब्लम्स होने लगते हैं, इश्यूज होने लगते हैं. देयर आर डर्मेटोलॉजिकल डिसऑर्डर्स, राइट. So this is all these are ways and means in which your body is telling you that it is not normal and it is having a problem. Right? Then we look at the psychological symptoms, which is you do not feel very happy about your job. You do not feel very happy in the environment that you are. There is a constant tension. There is an anxiety when you do not know what is going to be the outcome. We can easily relate it to the Karas's model, that when you do not know what is going to be the outcome of the amount of effort that you are putting. So there is a lot of anxiety. If I'm creating this content, whether it will be accepted by my audience or it will not be accepted by my audience, right? So there could be an anxiety. There could be a discouragement if I don't get support from people around. There could be irritability, right? Because if my ideas are being rejected over and over again, what happens is that for a very long, for some period of time, I would try and find out newer solutions for the problem that is being posed to me. But if it is being rejected, if my ideas at workplace are not being accepted, what happens is that, or my way of work is not being accepted, or I'm not being accepted as a person, it results in irritability, right? We tend to look at things in a very pessimistic way, that things will not happen the way we want, right? And sometimes people just want to give up, and they don't want to continue with their job. So these are psychological symptoms. And when we are unable to concentrate, when there is difficulty in understanding, uh, reduced cognitive understanding. And what are the behaviors, the symptoms? Now, a very common example is because younger kids, small children, when they start school. Now, imagine schools are very regimented place, and when a small child moves out of his house and goes to a school, he has to wear a particular uniform, uh, and then sit at one place for 2 hours, 3 hours, which he or she is not used to. And so, if आपने देखा होगा कि स्कूल जाते समय बच्चों की तबीयत सुबह सुबह उनके पेट में दर्द होने लगता है, तो नहीं जाना होता है। और बड़े बच्चे भी आजकल ऐसे करते हैं कि उनके सिर में दर्द हो जाता है, पेट में दर्द हो जाता है, राइट? एंड समटाइम्स अगर किसी स्कूल में बुलिंग बहुत है, और दैट स्टूडेंट इज अंडरगोइंग बुलिंग, और colleagues are bullying their co-workers, then people start actually feeling sick, because it is an avoidance strategy. Now, the brain does not want to go there, and it mimics a, uh, a disposition, a physical disposition, कि जहाँ पे आपको लगता है कि आप बीमार हैं, आप एक्चुअली बीमार हैं, आपको सिर दर्द होने लगेगा. It is not actually a headache, which has a physiological condition. No, the brain is trying to avoid a particular situation. Right? Then अगर आप चले भी जाते हैं ऑफिस और आप जॉब कर भी रहे हैं, तो आपका मन नहीं लगेगा उसको करने. हो सकता है. Now what happens is, now imagine a situation where you have a boss who's very encouraging. You do small things and he is very appreciative. So this gesture really reinforces the idea that you should put in a lot of effort. We're talking about positive reinforcement. But if there is a boss who does not see things that you have done, and constantly discourages you, or doesn't really talk well about you, then you feel that you do not belong to that place, and you don't want to, give the input that is really required. So there is a drop in the performance, there is a drop in the creativity, a drop in the initiative that you want, right? Then there could be you don't want to talk to people around. You don't really want to interact with people around, because certain times what happens is that if the bosses are not, or my superiors are not very supportive and not very encouraging, or if they have kind of discouraged us publicly, or they are not accepting of our ideas, then we feel the self-esteem goes down, and we perceive that we feel that the other people, the colleagues that we have, might not look up to us, or might not take us seriously, and therefore interpersonal relationship also takes the plunge. And then we have mood swing, irritability, lower tolerance of frustration, right? Because we are constantly thinking that whatever we do, we are not going to be appreciated. So there is a lot of impatience in us. There is a lot of disinterest, and because of all this, you might not want to interact with people, and which leads to isolation. These are not the ways to deal with the stress that we are facing. Now, I have come across a few methods which can help us clear our head when we face some problem. So I'll start with the last one, which is creating more control tabs. Uh, I'm sure all of us have certain areas in our work where we are not very sure of how we should, or which strategy would really help us to progress well or to outperform others, right? So I would want you to, if possible, you can take up paper and pen and right away. We can do this exercise, or you might try it today at home. That you put down the job that you're finding difficult, or for some time you are finding difficult to work at, and then you list down the different aspects of that problem or the task that you have at your hand, and you look at what which factors are under your control, which factors are governed by others, and which factors you perceive are governed by others but are actually under your control. So, so what happens is that once we start doing this, it it becomes easier for us to define that what are the problem areas really, what the problem areas are actually, and how we can get more control on our job. Sometimes a lot of things are easy. Right? So we should also get to a healthy conversation with people around and find out that what really has worked for them and what will work for you. Sometimes you have people who are senior to you and they have undergone the same experience. So it is much easier to understand things from their point of view because they've had the experiences earlier, and you also get to understand the outcome. Right? So it is easier for us to perform when we bring more aspects of the job at hand under our control, and then go ahead about. I also came across a very interesting exercise, which is called clearing away stresses. Right? So this exercise expects you to, write down all your fears on a piece of paper, and also write down what are the problem areas. Also write down, you know, who are uh, who are the angels and who are the demons. Right? So you write down all of this. Who is going to help you? Who's going to create a problem? And collect all the negative things. Collect all the negative things. It's like uh, the stressors, the problem creators, the demons. Collect all of that and make sure that you tear them properly and tear them so much that you are unable to read them again. Now, sometimes whatever is in your mind, when you physically do it, it is, to vent out these things. And it actually helps you to realize that you are taking these things away from your performances and throwing them. So it helps you in a psychological. When we are talking about creating more control tabs, it's a very strategic exercise, right? But when we are talking about clearing away stressors, it is a psychological, right? And then we come to lastly the doodling wave. This is what happens is doodling wave activity is just to provide some relaxation to your brain. When you find yourself really puzzled, when you find yourself you cannot understand what is the solution, you do not have answer to a question, immediate answer to a question, remove yourself, draw food, right? and and why are we doodling with basically it's mind to our mind to attached to a
Urvashi ma'am, your voice is breaking, ma'am.
Okay, thanks. Telling me then. Is
Yes,
it okay
ma'am.
now?
Yes, it is okay, ma'am. And I think some of them are raising their hand. I think they want to ask some questions, ma'am.
Okay, just 1 minute. Yeah, please go ahead. Raja Gopal. You're most welcome to ask questions. Please go ahead. Preeti, I don't think there is anybody.
Yes, ma'am. They have raised their hand, but I don't think they have any query to do with you, ma'am.
All right. I would really want to thank everyone for their patient hearing, and I'm just hopeful that everybody, understands stress a little better after this session, and it helps them to, take actions.
Thank you, Urvashi ma'am, for a very good and very informative session which we had with you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Varishpuri. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You're most welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. All right, all of you have a good day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I think Subhrata sir have taken the attendance. Some of you have asked about the attendance.
Ma'am, is the attendance online or we have to fill it somewhere?
That Subhrata sir will intimate you in the group. And
Ma'am, it's a CRM-based system, so no need any types of attendance.
Sorry, pardon, sir, what you have said just now?
Ma'am, overall system is CRM-based, so no need of any types of attendance or feedback.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ajay sir, for the note. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Arca. Thank you, Subrato sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.